All right, Nuggets fans, welcome into Pickaxe and Roll, brought to you by our good friends over at BetOnline. I am your host, Ryan Blackburn at NBA Blackburn on Twitter, part of the Mile High Sports Podcast Network, and I am here, I am ready, I am excited to talk about yesterday's Denver Nuggets win as the Nuggets defeat the Orlando Magic 113-100. Initially, I wasn't able to watch the game live if you were following along on the timeline yesterday, but I watched late last night. So I got through it all and was able to go back and check on the things that I missed. And I've got some takes from what we saw, and mostly it's about, hey, this is starting to look like a real team, starting to look like a really good group overall. Lots of different elements that you can see, and you can see continuing to grow. And I'm very excited to see where this thing goes from here. We'll get into that. We'll talk about Joker getting his triple-double. We'll talk about the Western Conference. We'll talk about CB, Christian Braun getting it going, Jamal Murray having another flurry, things like that. But real quick, this podcast, as you know, is brought to you by the good folks over at BetOnline. They continue to be the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting in 2025. Whether you're a seasoned fan or first-time bettor, BetOnline is your ultimate game day companion with the largest selection of odds on everything from football, the NBA, college basketball, and more. BetOnline is the number one sports betting source for the new year. Make sure to go check them out. BetOnline, the game starts here. All right, we'll get into it now. We'll talk about what I think was a very impressive game, a very interesting game from the Nuggets overall. They ultimately get down initially and have to work their way back. It's kind of a slower grind. The offense wasn't necessarily working that well. Lots of turnovers initially in this game from a variety of places, but I thought Aaron Gordon especially and Russell Westbrook especially in that first half had some issues. They each finished with 5, and the Nuggets as a team finished with 19. And that's where you kind of lose a little bit of focus. You're not as crisp as you probably could be against a team that is undermanned. But, and like the other thing is that Orlando is just a great defense. So even though they were missing a few guys and had a couple more weak spots, they still have a lot of talented defenders themselves. KCP, former friend, Wendell Carter Jr., Tristan Da Silva, who's figuring some stuff out, Jonathan Isaac, though he only played 12 minutes, interestingly. And then Anthony Black and guys like that. But really, they were missing a lot of their guys in their rotation and the players that make them, like Franz Wagner, Mo Wagner, Goga Bitadze, etc. But Denver took advantage, especially in the second half, where overall Denver goes on a 39-25 run in that third quarter. They lost the first quarter by 1, won the second quarter by 3, lost the fourth quarter by 3, but ultimately won the third quarter, the most important quarter in the game, in my opinion. And that's like overall. 39-25, they won it by 14 points. And there were times in that fourth quarter where Denver was up by 20, 21, 22, 23 points. And this game just felt over at that point. Denver's offense didn't really pick it up after that, and that's okay. Like they're kind of playing prevent offense, if you know what I mean. But overall, they did their job. They hit Orlando with a haymaker. Orlando never really had a chance to come back. They even had most of their starters out there, then all of their starters out there at one point. The Nuggets didn't have to do that, although Jamal Murray played 38 minutes and Christian Braun played 36. It's interesting to watch and look at the rotations. Rather than Peyton Watson being out there, he did get hurt in this game. I don't know what his status is, but he did get hurt in this game, and then I don't think he re-entered. But yeah, those two guys, Murray and Brown, played a whole bunch of minutes. Jokic only played 30. Michael Porter played 28. Russell Westbrook played 25. That is what I would call a good, efficient night for the Denver Nuggets. That's a very good sign for them overall, and I am glad to see it. Real quick, we got a super chat. I'm not sure if I want to say it, but I have to say it. Cedric Exquisite pops in. DJ Dunk on KCP. Happy Inauguration Day, Ryan. Happy Inauguration Day to you, sir. But I'll mostly focus on the DJ Dunk on KCP. That was a very good follow-up. Really good stuff from DJ, and just very nice to see what he was able to do. Like just screaming in his ear like that. KCP's arguing the call, but he can't stop himself from laughing. That was a good moment for sure. So good shout out there. And Grace is in the comments. Shout out, Grace. I saw you were at the game yesterday. Congratulations for being able to get down there. Grace says, I completely agree with you about this being a professional win. Got to say, in person, it also looked like the guys were having fun out there. That is a good sign, too. Denver is I think, a very good place. They are moving up the pecking order, and it's really good to see them kind of shift themselves into a new tier, into a new category of team where this is now a comfortable win. This is now one where you don't have to really focus too terribly hard on each of the individual details. They just kind of come naturally. So that's an important sign. But we'll circle back to Jokic now. Obviously, that's a big piece of this. 20 points, 14 rebounds, 10 assists, 3 steals, 3 blocks. Crazy numbers in just 3 quarters. 7 of 9 from the field, and he missed both shots on one possession. So all of the other shots were made on all of the other possessions and didn't have to take a 3. This is how you know that he is comfortable with where the team is at, in my opinion. When he's not jacking 3s, it means that he knows the team can get the best possible shots that they can. And sometimes he would look at Mike a little funny on some of the decisions that he made, look at Jamal or Christian, and okay, they make a turnover, or Russ makes a turnover, and you get a little bit of a side eye there. But overall, I think Joker, when he's not shooting 3s, part of it is because, of course, the shooting sleeve that he's got on, I'm not sure if he actually wants to. But the other part is that when he's in this zone and the Nuggets are plus 20 in his minutes without him having to shoot 3s, he doesn't want to. He wants to get the most efficient shots as he possibly can and get shots for everybody else around him. So it's a good sign. It's a good sign that Denver's in a really good spot, but he was dominant out there. It looked very good, and it continues to show that the Nuggets are in a great place when he doesn't have to come back in the fourth quarter. I really love to see that. I think that Nuggets fans kind of underrated, and especially those that just want to see him rack up some numbers, underrated how important not going in the fourth quarter is for your physical state at the end of the year. Given that Jokic always plays, when he does get in the fourth quarter, 36, 37, 38 minutes, him playing 30 and doing that consistently over the course of, I think, the past 3 out of 4 games, and the fourth one he missed entirely, that's a really good sign. That means that he and the team are in a really good place of figuring out some stuff even without him. Now, the Nuggets were plus 20 in his minutes, which means they're minus 7 in the rest of the game. This was a little bit different. I thought that DJ specifically did not have a great game. He wasn't finishing around the rim as you would like, and then turned it over a couple times, committed a couple fouls. And then Aaron Gordon, of course, has the turnovers that he does in those non-Jokic minutes. But you live with it because the team continues to push in the same direction. And that's something that I've been talking about a lot, making sure that everybody is going the right way. And it does feel like the team is sort of pushing in that right direction right now. It's not easy to find. It's not easy to identify all the time. And there are definitely moments where you look at them and think, all right, well, when's the other shoe going to drop? When's the other foot going to drop? Are you just like this now? Is this who you are now? Or are we waiting for the other aspect of the team to show? And I think that they're just good now. They're just a good team. And Jokic, of course, stabilizing everything is a big reason why. But the bigger reason why is probably Jamal Murray. And we can get into that on the other side. When we come back, we will discuss Jamal Murray, Christian Braun, and the rest of the Nuggets rotation just starting to figure some things out and really looking good. We will be right back here on Pickaxe and Roll. All right, we are back. Pickaxe and Roll, Ryan Blackburn here. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. I wasn't able to watch the game last night live, or then I guess it wasn't even really night. I went to actually Ball Arena yesterday. Sebastian Maniscalco was in town, and my parents are big fans, so we got them tickets for Christmas, my brother and I, and then also went with Ava and Brent. So shout out Ava and Brent, good friends of mine who I met through the Nuggets. So really good stuff there. Had a good time with them, and uh, yeah, it was interesting to not watch a Nuggets game while a Nuggets game was going on. You guys know how much time and effort and energy I put into this and trying to be the best at this that I can be. I don't usually miss. And so it's very rare when that happens. But it was good to get back and circle around. I watched the game at like 11:30, 12 o'clock last night. And so that's why I'm tired. That's why I'm it's definitely a thing. All right, we're gonna put this user in timeout. All right, let's talk about Jamal. Let's talk about Jamal and how it didn't necessarily look good initially, but he continues to move really well. I thought he got bumped a couple times, and like he looked like he was a little bit in pain at times, just kind of peeling himself up off the floor when he got bumped to the ground. So I don't necessarily want to make it about injuries or anything. He did figure some stuff out in the late third quarter and early fourth quarter. I'm pretty sure he had 10 straight points from the third to the fourth quarter, if I'm not mistaken. 19 points overall. Wasn't really that efficient, looking that good before that, but hey, like you take what you can get. And when you have other guys that can contribute on a stable basis, Christian Braun was stable. Michael Porter got some buckets before that. Nikola Jokic and Russell Westbrook, of course, got some buckets before that. Then Jamal comes in the late third quarter and effectively helps put the game away with the buckets that he was getting, the buckets that the team was able to get at that particular time. And that's the level that you can reach and then say, hey, now Orlando, we are just better than you. Like as a team, the Nuggets are just better than the Orlando Magic because Jamal Murray goes from here to here. And it's that threshold on a consistent basis that he wasn't reaching on like before. Before it was, hey, even like 1 of 6 from 3 isn't that crazy, but before it was 6 of 16 and 1 of 6 from 3. And then this game is a 7-point game and Jokic is coming back in and the team makes a couple extra turnovers and then it's suddenly a tie game. But that's not what's happening anymore. The team is now starting to figure out the different layers to this thing, and they're kind of hitting opponents in waves. It's Murray, but it was also Christian Braun, and before this, it was Aaron Gordon in the previous game, and it was Michael Porter in other games, and Julian Strawther's continuing to find his groove. I don't necessarily think that he's been playing that great over the course of these last couple, but he's overall, I think, found a home in this rotation, despite the fact that he's not like shooting the ball that well lately. But everybody seems to be finding a rhythm right now and finding different ways in different games where they can really be the difference. And that can be really emphasized with what Christian Braun did yesterday. His line is pretty ridiculous. 20 points on 6 of 10 from the field, 1 of 3 from 3, but he went 7 of 7 from the line, 11 rebounds, including 5 offensive, 2 assists, 1 block, plus 22, which led the team in 36 minutes, which means in the 12 minutes that he didn't play, the Nuggets were -9. Really great stuff from him. And I wrote prior to the game yesterday that I thought that Russell Westbrook would be the guy to really take advantage of Cole Anthony and how undersized he was. And that was, I think, the weak point in the Orlando Magic rotation, especially from a defensive end. And it wasn't Russ as much. It was more Christian Braun. I saw a lot of that, especially early on. And Christian was just taking it to Cole Anthony, getting into the paint, using back cuts. He had a little up and under and then drew the foul and went for an and one. He ran in transition. The dunk that he had, just passing the ball back and forth with Russ until Russ alley-ooped it to him. That was pretty impressive. And he just continues to show a relentlessness that you need from somebody in that spot. You need to be relentless if you are going to win consistently in the NBA. You need somebody that is going to not like settle, who's going to get some dunks, who's going to get the easiest shots possible. And what we know about CB is he's going to the hole. Matt Reynolds says it here. CB going hard to the hole. Absolutely. He's been tremendous and figuring some stuff out. And it's why I wasn't super worried about the fact that he wasn't shooting the ball that well in December. Like there are different levels to what guys can provide. And when you're not shooting the ball well, the natural inclination is to just drive harder to the hole. But what Christian had an issue with initially was just driving, being tentative, and he still does it a little bit. Like he only drives when he feels like he really has a lane. It's not like when it's contested and he's trying to force something. He very rarely forces anything. But when he's open, he's driving to the paint and he is dunking as much as he can humanly possibly do. I want to see if I can look up how many dunks he has right now, because it wouldn't surprise me if it's like over 50 at this point for the season. Like he is going hard to the hole on a consistent basis. Dunks. Yeah, it's 51. Previous year, he had 30 in 1,655 minutes. This year, in 1,350 minutes, he has 51. So, like, he is just getting more aggressive. He is using his athleticism in a very good way. And both he and Jamal, like that starting backcourt area, have really started to find a groove together. Where Jamal is setting him up, but Russ is also setting up Christian in transition as often as he can. It's been great to see. On the season at the rim, Christian is shooting 73.2%, but even more than that, he's shooting 48.1% in the 3 to 10 foot range, that floater zone. Last year, he was shooting 33.9% in that floater zone. That is a massive difference, a massive amount of growth there. And if he is just able to like stay as efficient as possible in that 0 to 10 foot range, just around the rim, in the paint, constantly being efficient there, it's making the efficiency that much easier to come by. With Denver, like now up to 64.9% true shooting, that is exactly what you're looking for from a shooting guard, from a guy that's a slasher as often as possible. The other thing is that his free throw shooting has gotten way better, 81.9% on the season. So I know that there are a lot of people that were worried about Christian initially, especially when he was shooting and struggling from 3-point range in December. Now I think he's kind of put that to bed. There's no reason to overreact to that. And what he's done over the course of this year is grow. He's absolutely gotten better, and that's exactly what you got to be looking for if you're a Nuggets fan. Beyond those two, Michael Porter figured some stuff out in the second half once again, 15 points, 3 of 9, or 5 of 9 from the field, 3 of 5 from 3, 2 of 3 from the free throw line. Mike's just like, I don't understand the free throw shooting. That is the ultimate mystery in Michael Porter's game right now. Where does he have from a free throw shooting? He's still at 70.9%. So it's been okay. But he doesn't get to the free throw line enough for it to like be a massive factor. But you just like to see it improve and continue to improve. But those points per game are dropping a little bit more steadily. Not as involved, I would say, as he has been in previous weeks. As Murray has continued to up his efficiency and up his volume, Porter has dropped a little bit. And, well, I mean, that's just natural. Guys step up and guys get out of the way at different points in the season. And I hope he continues to find times where he can step up because the Nuggets are going to need him. We will see whether he can find that rhythm, especially in the minutes where Joker's not on the floor. But given that Murray is now figuring out some stuff in the non-Jokic minutes, there is an opportunity for Porter in those Jokic non-Murray minutes that I think he could be stepping up. And right now he's really just got one move on On that, I'm looking at it. It's the DHO going to his left with Joker, where he just grabs it and immediately chucks it. And he's probably got to find another counter to that. I don't think the team has found a great counter to that when opposing teams really guard that. Now, maybe the counter is, hey, they're guarding Michael Porter really close. The rest of us have a great opportunity. And maybe that's all it has to be. But that's what continues to, I think, emphasize he is mostly a spacer and not much more right now. Got to find other ways to drive and take advantage of that physicality. Hopefully, he can do that. We will see whether he can. Elsewhere, like I said, Aaron Gordon, 5 turnovers is a lot, but he was plus 10 in this game, while the rest of the starters or the rest of the bench was all minus. Yeah, five turnovers is a lot, but it is what it is. Hopefully Peyton Watson's okay. As I mentioned in the first segment, that block that he had on Cole Anthony was insane. He deserves a ton of credit for that. He was selling out in that first half. And hopefully when he does end up popping up on the injury report this afternoon, it's pretty good news as opposed to anything else. But we will see. And yeah, just feels like the Nuggets are moving in the right direction, folks. It's been pretty good to see. All right. Let's take another break. When we come back, we're going to discuss this being a professional win, some of the stats that I've brought up in previous weeks, and then Saturday, when I put up the 2-man net rating chart. And we'll look around at the Western Conference a little bit too. We'll be right back on Pickaxe and Roll. All right, we're back. Final segment, Pickaxe and Roll. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. Hit that like button down below. Hit that subscribe button. Would really, really appreciate it. All right, let me see if I can get that net rating chart pulled up a little bit. A lot of good stuff from something like that. And yeah, actually, I didn't upload it onto here. Let me see if I can upload it onto the screen so that people can see it for themselves. This is the during production for the podcast. Okay. 2-man net rating. Sorry, you still have to see my ugly chin. This is what it looked like before the game yesterday. Team net rating on the season. Jokic, of course, that category. This is ordered by minutes played. So that's why it's not Jokic all the way at the left and Murray next to him and things like that. Jokic's team net rating is plus 13.4. This is on cleaning the glass, and it eliminates garbage time. So it's not going to look exactly like it looks for NBA.com, but this, I think, is a more accurate depiction of when the game matters. What does your team look like? And Jokic across the board, like plus 10 with every single rotation guy. Hunter Tyson, not in the rotation. That's a pretty crazy number. Aaron Gordon, of course, same thing when he is with the starters. When he's with the bench, I'm curious to see how those numbers continue to grow. Murray's going to be out there. Strother's going to be out there. DJ's going to be out there. So we'll get some updates on those numbers going forward. But as you can tell, the 2 weak points in Denver's starting are like their 9-man rotation are Strother and DeAndre Jordan. But DeAndre Jordan, it's a vast difference between him and Dario Saric and him and Zeke Naji. So there's a reason why Jordan is playing. Can Denver improve upon that backup center position? Maybe, but probably not for the assets that they have. So you're probably not going to see Denver upgrade at the backup center spot, in my opinion. You're probably going to see if they do something, it's going to be on the perimeter somewhere else. But Strother, the difference between what he was looking like here and what he was looking like in the previous version is distinct. It is distinctly different. So I think I'll just take this down now. The Nuggets as a team have figured some stuff out. And the Strother minutes, I think, are very emblematic of that. Jokic and Strother together, I think, what was that number? It was plus 11.8. That is distinctly different from like the plus 3 that it was 15 games prior, 16 games prior. And I continue to think that there was a massive overreaction, and I was not part of it, but like I probably started it because of the numbers that I put out there when everybody started looking at the plus minus around Julian. But he has found, I think, a rhythm and a place within this rotation to be impactful, and the Nuggets have been able to be successful in that. But there's a lot of things to look at with it and say, hey, Denver's most of their combinations. Actually, let me put it back up on the screen here so you can see. Most of the combinations with the rotation guys are all pretty good. Peyton Watson and all the starters. Watson and Westbrook is a little bit lower, but that's from the Westbrook, Watson, Saric minutes at the beginning of the season, which were horrible. Strother and Westbrook is an emblematic thing of Denver's backcourt when they went to their bench unit. They've mostly gone with Murray Strother of late, and that is a little better. Not great, but still a little better. And just overall, Denver's levels that they can reach are more consistently positive, and it's just except for Strother. So I think that based on where he was versus where he is now, there is a consistent level of growth that is happening here. And that was the expectation. He's a second-year player, somebody that you knew was, or I knew, I don't know if I fully articulated this, but knew that he was going to be a drag on the plus minus because he's like a Terrence Ross type. He's one of those guys that's a gunner offensively, struggles on the defensive end. Unless he's got it going on the offensive end, it can be very difficult for him to have a positive plus minus. But there have been times where he has anyway, and he continues to find ways to be impactful. The defense is getting better, I would say, and there's a lot to like in a lot of different categories. So I think that Denver's pretty close. Do I think that this is the rotation that gets them a championship? Probably not, but I'm also not willing to write it off the table because they've improved so much over the course of this last 15, 16 games. It feels like the Nuggets are in a better spot and a more consistent spot than they were before, where guys know exactly what they're shooting for. They know what they're looking for with all of this. As a team, let's just go through. Game 25 was the Portland loss. Ever since the Portland loss, I mean, they were 14-11 at that point. They are now 26-15, 26-16. So it's 11-5. Like, that's a lot more in line with what you would expect from a championship team, from a championship contender. And they're still going to keep improving. I think they're still going to keep moving in that right direction. There are levels to this, and I'm very curious to see what Aaron Gordon looks like in the starting lineup. Matt Reynolds says, I really like AG off the bench until the playoffs. Interesting. I figured that they would try to get him into the starting lineup relatively soon, but I'm not surprised that they've delayed this decision because I've talked about this before. You don't want to have to choose between whether Westbrook goes to the bench or whether Christian Braun goes to the bench. They're both playing pretty well in the starting lineup now. You don't want to have to make that choice. So if you can delay it as long as possible, then great. And Aaron, I think, is more than amenable to that. There's a certain time that he's going to want to get ready with playoff minutes. Could he do this through the All-Star break and then post-All-Star break they make that decision? That's possible. It could make sense to me. And then the other factor there is that it's a lot different to have Aaron Gordon and DeAndre Jordan out there instead of Peyton Watson and DeAndre Jordan out there from a rebounding standpoint, from a physicality standpoint, from a stability standpoint. Like, Watson is still figuring some stuff out and can do stuff, but Aaron just provides a little bit more stability. So I can understand why they're looking that way. Real quick, let's look around the Western Conference real quick because I did describe that I would do that. OKC's at 35-7. They're going to be the 1 seed. It's fair. Like, I would be shocked if they weren't. Houston is 28-13. Memphis is 27-15. Denver is 26-16. They are making some good progress. They're moving up, and they're only 3 losses behind Houston. Obviously, Houston blew them out without Joker and Aaron Gordon, and that is going to be it's going to be a hard one for Denver to have to overcome. The difference is Denver does control their own destiny with that. They can bounce back for sure. The next time they play Houston, let me see if I have this right. Man, it's not for a while. Next time they play Houston is March 23rd at Houston on a road trip, 4th game in a 4-game road trip. And then they play Houston again on the last game of the season. Could that game matter? Could that game be something that Denver has to worry about from a tiebreaker standpoint, a playoff seeding standpoint? I don't know. But if they do, I do honestly think that Denver could get to the 2 seed if they really wanted to. And if they were able to do that, then that would be a big deal for them, going into the playoffs, because they get home court advantage until having to face OKC in the Western Conference Finals. And then who knows, maybe somebody knocks them out at that point. But yeah, Denver, the Clippers behind them have 17 losses. They're 24-17. The Lakers are 22-18. Dallas is 23-19. They're kind of at the same place. Minnesota's 22-20. They're 5-5 in their last 10, still trying to figure some stuff out. Sacramento, 22-20. They are 9-1, I believe, since firing Mike Brown. So they're roaring back. And Phoenix is 21-20, and the Warriors are 21-20. So you've got a whole bunch of teams that are just above 500, but Denver and the Clippers, and I guess not really the Lakers. Basically, those top 5 have kind of separated themselves from, okay, we are probably going to make the playoffs. We're probably going to be in that tier. Unless something weird happens, we are going to be in that upward tier. And it's really going to be about seeding at that point. So if you're a Nuggets fan, how do you feel about facing OKC in a playoff series? How do you feel about facing Houston in a playoff series? How do you feel about facing Memphis in a playoff series? The Clippers in a playoff series? The Lakers in a playoff series? Dallas, I think, is the other team that you really have to concern yourself with. And then I guess Minnesota. But it's that group where you're like, all right, this is the lot that you've been given. How do you respond to that? What are you really looking for against most of these teams? And what does Denver need in order to make sure that they are the favorite in those cases? Given that they have Jokic, and given that they have a team that has already won a title, I'm going to guess that they're a favorite in most of those except OKC, because OKC has just separated themselves in the plus-minus department, things like that. Everybody's buying into them. It's not just me. But if they face Houston, I think most people would consider Denver the favorite there. If they face Memphis, I think most people would consider Denver the favorite. The Clippers, the Lakers, same thing. Dallas is tough. Not sure. They're 3-7 in their last 10, and it's not just because they're missing Luka. They have some issues. Minnesota, of course, has some issues. I don't know if they're going to have Julius Randle on the team after the trade deadline. If they do, then I think Denver should be pretty happy. But if those two continue to flounder, then who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? Maybe it's a good idea that Denver is the 3rd seed as opposed to the 2nd seed, because if those teams are in the play-in tournament, then that means a guarantee that Denver wouldn't face them in the first round of the playoffs. The Lakers would be the team that Denver would face if they were 3rd and the Lakers 6th. I know Nuggets fans feel pretty comfortable against the Lakers. So going to be fascinating. I'm curious to see what it looks like with Denver and how it continues to evolve, how the West continues to evolve. Are these going to be the teams that are in the playoff picture 20 games from now? I don't know. A lot can change in 20 games, as we've seen from the Nuggets, but I do think that the Nuggets are they've put themselves into a good position to take advantage of this West. I think that Denver right now, if you're looking at teams and you feel like you want to feel comfortable about a team, I think Denver's the second most likely to win a championship in the Western Conference right now. Mavericks might have a case there, obviously, because they went to the finals last year and because, like, when they are healthy, they still have a very strong rotation, very strong formula. But given where Denver's at, given how they're moving and how they're playing right now, I think that you could really justify that with where Denver's at. So we will see what it changes into. Like 20 games from now, that might be a different statement from me. But I think prior to the trade deadline, it's gonna be fascinating. Man, getting some compliments on the hair today. This is arguably your best hair yet from Devout Yokagamis Lumi. What a name, what a profile picture there. Congratulations. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. It does. It's all right. It's all right. All right. Well, I think that is going to do it for this episode of Pickaxe and Roll. Hope you guys enjoyed. I did a lot of like overarching stuff today. I wanted to make sure to get some good information out there, especially with the two-man net rating chart. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. Really appreciate the love and support on the podcast. As always, folks, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Would really, really appreciate it. It does go a long way. Thank you so much. I will talk to you guys very soon.